Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Jesse, your DM.
Cody playing Lazarus.
Brennan playing Dis.
Mike playing Nim.
Britt playing Kenna.
And we are Double Doubles and Dragons. We're a group of goofy Canadians that have gotten together to play a little D&D. Sometimes we will say things that are inoffensive. We mean them as jokes, of course, and they're certainly funny to us, but some people may find this offensive. If you do, we apologize, but we don't want any hate mail about it. So just don't listen, okay? Let's jump right into the action. Welcome back, everybody. Quick recap, because I know everybody's really excited to see what plan shapes up. Basically, Mary was talking to Lazarus and seems to have expressed a desire to want to help them and maybe feels like she can't go home the way she is. She seems a little worried about that. In the meantime, our three other adventurers are trapped in a laundromat of all places by a mysterious man and several big guards, and they're just trying to figure out their way out of this whole situation. So let's rejoin them, shall I? So, you guys are still in the back room. There's still the two guards watching the front door. What's the plan?
Alright. So you guys cast magic on each other and make yourself super stealthy. And then you hop on, and I'm gonna take you out to freedom. And also, do I want to lose the guards first and then swing back around to the alley? Or do I just want to walk out to the alley?
I think you act like you're actually going on lunch break.
And then swing around.
And then swing back around and, yeah, just make sure no one's following you first. And if you're being followed, then we'll go with plan B.
Alright. Teleportation. I
Yep.
like it. Alright, I am prepared.
Okay, so Dis is staying disguised as Sid, and the two of you are going invisible and tiny?
Pass without trace, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that...
Okay, so you guys are just passing without
We're not
trace.
jumping on him.
Okay. Pass without tracing and
I could jump
invisible.
on him.
You mean I could jump on him?
I can turn into a mouse and get on him.
Okay, well then I can, like, just
Well,
know...
why don't we do that?
Okay, well, yeah. Well, you'll pass without trace first, and then turn into a mouse, and then I'll invisible the two of us. Or I guess I can just invisible myself then, because you'll be a mouse. And you can just jump in his backpack.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll just invisible and jump on his back, because I'd weigh, like, nothing.
Also, all my clothes and my weapons and stuff are in my backpack.
Okay.
Put it all in there.
I
I'll leave
assume
them
so.
behind.
Unless I think it would be highly unrealistic for you to get out of a situation with it, I assume you're keeping your stuff.
Alrighty. Well, let's do this then. Sneaky.
Okay, so Kenna casts
Pass without trace.
Pass Without Trace by saying
Sneaky.
sneaky, poof.
And then I turn into a mouse
Okay.
and scurry up Dis's leg.
Oh,
He's not... You've had me in your...
Kenna.
Oh my.
Not like that.
I'm sorry, Sasha's the only one for me.
I forgot about Sasha. I also forgot about Braun. Braun.
Is it a brawny?
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't even really gone looking for Brawny.
You don't even know if he's alive.
He's busy working on his wood.
Yeah, the
That's
wood
what
that
the
burned
man
down.
does.
I'm sure other people would like to work on his wood.
Easy now.
Easy now.
Okay, and then Nim is going to cast invisibility.
Just on myself.
Okay, so you are now invisible, and you hop up onto Dis, I guess?
You're also going up a
fit in your
pant leg?
backpack.
Well, I don't know. He's got too much in his backpack. You go in his backpack as a mouse.
No, I can just go wherever I'm a mouse.
Okay, yeah, just cuddle his junk as a mouse.
I don't want to.
Ah, jockstrap.
Wow.
Furry jockstrap. What is wrong?
Guys!
You're in prime healing position.
No!
Three
Okay.
on one.
I assume
Three
Kenna's
on
like
one.
right here, like popping out the collar.
I
just
bite
looking
his
around.
neck.
Oh, Jesus. My jugular.
Okay, so Sid is now geared up with his party mates, and I guess you're just gonna strut out of this place, eh?
Yep.
Okay.
Walk by, and then wave at Alex on the way out.
Alex gives you a wave as you go by the counter. And there's still the two burly men by the door.
Are they on the inside of the door or the outside of the door?
Inside.
When I go by, I'm super nervous when I go to open the door. I'm like, hey, how are you guys doing today?
Your door pushes out, by the way. Weird
Oh,
design, I
jeez.
know.
No, actually, I try to pull it first. The awkward, I'm like, oh, right, yeah.
Roll dexterity save.
Dex save?
patting you down.
No advantage?
No advantage.
That would be a 11.
Okay.
We're getting hit with shit.
Okay, so you kind of wave to Alex, and you're just strutting right for him. The two guys at the door were like kind of giving you that hang on a minute, but you were, heading confidently for the door. And as you reach out to reach for the doorknob, you reach forward with intention, and all of a sudden, several cuts appear on your hands, and you take 10 points of damage.
Ooh.
As your hand is bleeding for a moment, you notice that there is a very thin wire mesh that's been stretched between the two guys standing at the doorway, and you had just inadvertently plowed your hand right through it, not seeing it.
Oh my.
You can certainly see it now, since your blood is dripping off it.
I'm going to back up and just be like, oh my god, what happened?
One of the men...
I just want to go
pulling the mesh.
hysterical and just, get a guard, get somebody, I'm going to bleed out.
One of the guards just kind of he's slowly nodding, like he completely agrees. And then he's just kind of, I'm sorry. It was very clear no one was to leave without a pat down.
Jesus Christ, you could have said something.
I'm sorry. It was very clear. Nobody knows about the mesh. Seems the boss is worried about somebody that can shift into animals.
That's not even possible, you're making shit up.
That's what I said. But when the boss says, you do what the boss says.
Oh my god, I'm gonna scurry down his body hearing this and actually curl up around his junk.
If you'd like to go outside, I can let you, but I have to pat you down.
Nim, hearing this, is going to try to stealthily climb off.
Well, you have Pass Without Trace on.
I know,
Yeah, so you can be pretty stealthy.
but I just have to specify that I'm being stealthy.
All right, go on.
While I feel him moving off, I'm
Yeah.
still going to be flailing around in a way that's not going to impede Nim, but something that's going to distract them with my motions. I want to try to accident oh Jesus Christ, while I'm waving my hand around, fling some blood up in the eyes
I
of one
think
of the
I'm gonna
guys.
spend a lot.
Okay. Roll an attack roll. Unarmed.
I think that just doesn't really change.
It doesn't attack.
Because we all have
Lucky.
I think you have proficiency if I remember right.
Yeah.
Nim had to use lucky.
And to great effect.
No advantage?
No advantage.
18.
Okay.
That's, what's my stealth again? Plus 4, plus 10, so that's 32.
Okay.
He's a stealthy motherfucker.
All right, so Nim is stealthily creeping down Dis's back while Dis is attempting to shower the one guy in blood to maybe draw his attention away. The guy that you've been talking to just takes the blood. He doesn't move. He doesn't even blink. He's just standing there, just staring at you with these sort of not quite perfectly the same size eyes.
That's really disconcerting.
he just stands there. He goes, if you want to go outside, I'm going to have to pat you down.
I feel Nim has shifted into done what he's wanted to do.
Yeah, it seems like Nim has slunk away.
Right, okay, fine, you can
Did
pat
I
me
stealthily
down.
make it to his crotch?
Yes.
Can you bandage my hand?
I am not very good at healing.
Then just pat me down so I can get to a doctor.
Okay. Hold still, please. And he just both hands come up, these big meaty hands, and he just his pat down is literally just squeezing each part of your body
Whoa.
on his way down. It's actually quite forceful. And Nim, where did you go?
I want to stand, far enough behind him that I'd be out of the way, but close enough that when the door does open, I can scurry through.
Okay, sounds good. So he's proceeding down your body. He's done your sides, and he goes, turn to the side, please. He begins patting down the front. He closes his big meaty hand like over your face and kind of begins working his way down the front. Kenna, you're in his shorts, so you can't see what's happening. Is there anything you're trying to do?
I'm like wrapped around his dick. Literally his dick.
We never talk about this again.
There's nothing else I can do.
Hide under the shaft. Make them feel that instead.
Okay, I'll do that then.
I'm just
Right
imagining
between
the line that Dis has lined up for right now. You're impressed, aren't you? You better believe it's right.
Well, yeah, I was like, it's
Oh,
better,
boy.
easier to believe he's a big fat dick.
It's a good thing he does.
You're impressed, aren't you?
All right. The pat down continues.
Oh, God.
And as far as you can tell, it doesn't seem like he's detected anything. But he wasn't shy either.
Did he look impressed?
He doesn't look like he's impressed by anything. I mean, even the blood is still like dripping down his forehead, and he just doesn't care. He stops when he gets to your feet, and he kind of stands back up. All right. You seem clean.
Other than this.
I'm gonna move the wire exactly this far away from the door. Slip through, please.
Okay. I want to set up at the side, like, be super, not slow about it, but nervous, like I'm trying to fit around, trying to give Nim time to get behind me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll try to, like...
Is the wire the whole length of the door?
It's kind of like a rollout sheet they seem to have devised.
I'll try to kind of, like, get... Not quite between Dis's legs, but, like, as close to that as possible.
So that you're not, like, behind him, you're kind of, like, in there.
Basically.
Apparently, we just like to be in Dis's drunk today.
Okay.
Everybody's all up in that.
It's so big, people gravitate to it.
Okay. So you slip between his legs. Dis, you're doing your best to, like, accommodate him without looking like you're accommodating him. Give me a performance roll.
50?
Okay. So you kind of like, you kind of make it look like because you're going to have to like sneak through sideways that you kind of widen your stance a little bit for stability, and Nim kind of slips in there. And it's a good thing he does, because when you're about halfway through the wire mesh, that guard that's been talking to you just out of nowhere lifts up his leg and stomps on the ground right behind your leg.
Ooh.
Just in case somebody was trying to sneak in behind you.
I try to safely jump and not hit anything. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, what are you doing?
He actually puts a small dent in the floor. He stomps so hard.
You gotta pay for that. I just work here. Imagine if the fucking proprietors come back and they see this, I'm gonna lose my job.
Would wrecking the place make them come back?
No, they probably never come back after that.
All right. Continue through
Nice.
the door then, please.
Nice
Okay, I want to open the door, and then I want to look back at the guy I hit blood with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, heads up, you want to get yourself checked out? I don't know where I've been. And I want to shut the door.
Okay. He offers no comment. Just clangs that metal back to the door frame, and you're outside.
So, I know if I go, I think, to the right, and then go in the alley, that's where the guy is.
That's where he said he would be, yes.
I want to go to the left,
Okay.
and just start walking down there, and I'm going to be close to, like, entrances to the alleys on the left.
Okay.
And then I just want to walk maybe, I don't know, like 5 minutes, and just...
You'll...
Try
wait a
and-
minute.
Pardon?
When you get outside...
Okay.
There's a reason nobody's come into the shop for the last 20 minutes. The entire block that your shop is on has been cordoned off. Kind of like for road work, but it's been kind of impromptu set up. People have put a couple of big rocks in front of one area with a little bit of wood on top to make it look like a barrier, and there's a couple of people standing there, and a similar process has been done for the rest of the road. There's just people there, and every time somebody starts kind of walking towards the shop, you hear them quite firmly, "I'm sorry, this area is currently closed. It should reopen soon." And for the most part, people are just taking that and turning around.
Does it
If when I look left through the alleys, when I'm going towards there, does it look like there's any blockage on there?
The alleyway, so the way that the alleyway works behind your building is it loops around your building, and there's only 2 exits other than out to this front street where your door is. There's 2 exits in the back alley that would lead kind of to other back alleys. You can't see them from where you are, though.
Mm-hmm.
But they've blocked off the other roads. You're not sure if that means they blocked off the alleys or not. There doesn't appear to, there's nowhere near enough people to stop you from sneaking out. It just looks like they're trying to keep the public out.
Okay.
Or at least that's as far as it looks to you.
I want to start. I don't know if I can do this. Do I know of any other places around there that serve food that were in the block? This laundromat block?
Food in that block. No food, not in that block. The nearest restaurant's about 2 down.
Do I know of any shortcuts through the alleys that would get me to that?
If you go down the alley and head left, that would be west, that does lead down the same back alley that is shared with the restaurant.
Is that the same one with the guy waiting, or is this a different alley?
He'd be back there somewhere. He said he'd be right behind your building. So if you went left and then left again, presumably you wouldn't go near him.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to do that. Like, start heading towards the place I know that serves food in that other block or the adjacent block.
Okay, he's still maintaining the I'm going for lunch.
Yeah, and then once I get around, like, one corner, before I would go and see, like, at that second left, where if I went straight through, I suppose I would run into this
You would turn right.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to get to that corner.
Because there's no straight through. It's basically the building, the alleyways come back like this, and then there's this back alley. So the back alley goes that way and that way.
Okay. And then left would take me to
the food.
Okay.
Right would take you beside your building, which is where he said he was waiting.
Okay, I'm going to turn left down the alley at first.
Okay.
I'm going to find, like, a entrance or, like, any sort of a recessed area off the side of it.
Okay.
And then I want to just pop in there. And I'm trying to be stealthy as soon as I go into the alley with the pass without trace.
Okay.
So I'm going to walk down there, hide in this little enclosure, and then I just want to watch and see if anybody's going to follow me.
Sure. Roll your stealth with the pass without trace.
That would be 31.
Okay. You duck into this cubby, just kind of a little garbage collection area, really, and you're watching to see if anybody goes by. And as you're kind of sitting there with your perception, which is 15, you're kind of sitting there, and you notice that there's a fresh thieves' cant carving in the back alley. Not too far from where you would come around and ducked behind this little cubby. There's a fresh inscription in there, and it's. As we've talked about before, you're still kind of getting used to their vernacular exactly, but the meaning seems pretty clear. It's a very almost campy, it's better if you turn yourselves in.
Oh, shit.
Seems to have been scrawled. You kind of think about it, and it's actually been on about 3 or 4 different places since you started coming down the alley.
So it's the Thieves Guild.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So they're after you and me.
Yeah, so I'm
That's
going
something
to...
like shapeshift.
Yeah. God damn it. I'm going to look at it. I will just say the information very quietly so I know Nim and Kenna can hear it.
Yeah.
And then...
I say, all right, I'm going to go talk to weird guy.
Mr. Nameless?
Mr. Nameless.
And I want to walk out of the alley again, or out of the recessed area after I've kind of waited the couple minutes to make sure nobody's specifically following.
Didn't seem like it.
And I want to walk back to where the guy said he was going to be in the back alley.
Okay. Nim, are you staying there and same with Kenna, or are you guys going with him, or...
I'll go with him. So the alley is kind of like if this is the building, there's an alley on either side, and then it goes behind the building, and it's kind of like an H shape almost?
Yes. Yeah.
Before we get closer, I'll be like, Kenna, you stay on one end of the alley, I'll stay on the other end of the alley, so I'll go far.
So you're gonna kind of go like past him and try to block off the alley.
Yeah, so I'm gonna so I'll tell Kenna to stay on like the closer side, the
They're
one
gonna
that he.
catch me the moment I come out in form, though.
But there's no one watching. This just found out. Other than this guy, so if you just jump off of him, like I'm sure there's some rats around or mice around, so it's not like they're gonna be super suspicious.
Just get into a pack. Hey guys, mind if I run with you for a little while?
I guess that's what I try to do.
The rats are like, oh my god, a 20 out of 20 rat! Holy shit!
Jesus phrases. God.
As long as you don't, like, I think if you jump off of him just before he rounds the corner, that's probably ideal. And then you just kind of hang out near the corner there.
Okay.
And then I'll make my way across.
Downtown?
Yeah, making my way downtown. Walking invisible.
And are
And
you
I'm
still
gonna
going
not
as
have
Sid?
pass without trace. Because what's pass without trace? 30 feet?
I love that you just reversed your
Yeah, I know.
30 feet for pass without trace?
I believe so. That was what it was last week, so I mean, it should be this week, yeah.
I don't
Okay, so that sounds like a plan. You guys do that. Roll your individual stealth rolls. For those of you that are trying to hide, I realize Sid/Dis is just strutting out there with his well-conceived yet shoddy costume.
Yep.
Okay. Hopefully I don't have to burn my luck point and my inspiration here, but we will see.
Plus 10, plus 4.
No, because I'm walking it. I don't get the pass without trace because I'm walking past him.
No.
So
You'll be more than 30 feet away for sure. Unless you're specifically trying to
but I
stay
have
in
advantage
that 30
because
feet.
I'm invisible, right?
Yes. If you're trying to specifically stay within that 30 feet, that'll just put you much closer to the guy.
That kind of help. Actually, we'll go with that. That's 20 stealth.
Okay. Kenna?
I don't know what you rolled.
No, it was 20, 13, 23, 27.
27. Okay. So, the two of you get into place, trying to block off both ends of this alley as Sid/Dis struts his way in. Dis, when you're walking towards it, the guy is leaning against a wall, the back wall of your building, sitting down, kind of like hunched down a little bit. And you notice he's wearing a slightly different outfit than when you first met him. Since he's gotten out of the shop, he's kind of equipped... what's the right word for it? Kind of a long coat, not quite a trench coat, but just like a longer coat. And you notice he has 2 swords sitting on each hip, which he definitely didn't have when he came.
Can
into
I,
the-
what do the swords look like from my expertise?
They kind of look like shortened katanas.
He's gonna fuck us up.
Okay. I want to walk up to him, and I want to do it on things. I want to walk up to him, and I want to do it kind of nervously, like I'm looking around to see if Nim and Kenna are around, like I'm about to tell somebody something where I'm going to probably get fired.
Okay, so you try to come up looking really nervous. Roll a performance roll.
With advantage?
I would say so, still with the costume.
Okay. 23.
Okay. So you walk up, you're trying to look nervous. As you do, he kind of pops one blade out of its scabbard, whichever way you pronounce it properly. He kind of pops it out and uses that to kind of tip the brim of his hat up. Just kind of catches you with one eye, kind of sideways. Have we decided that there's been enough games, Dis?
He says Dis?
He does.
My name's Sid.
Oh, I know it is. It's a very nice costume, actually. You almost had me in the shop, but, well, if we remain good friends after this conversation, perhaps I'll tell you how I discovered who you are. But in the meantime, have you come to chat?
Shit.
Well, to be honest, I was out on my way to get lunch. And I gotta ask, have you ever tried the pumpernickel?
I guess I drop invisibility on that note.
Yeah. I suppose I unshift and walk on over.
Okay.
And I'm like, motherfucker! And I pull out my weapon.
Why? All right. So Nim uninvisibles at one end of the hallway or the alleyway. Kenna unshapeshifts on the other. Are you guys kind of walking in, or are you just blocking the alleyway exits?
Walk in.
I'll walk in to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I kind of want to keep like enough distance because I guess I saw him tip up his hat with the sword, so I don't want to be within melee range. That's for sure. But I'll be within like how long is this alley?
It's the length of your building. That's the spot that you're blocking off. So it's something like 50 or 60 feet.
Okay, so I'll walk within like 15 feet of the guy.
Okay. Trying to kind of close in on him a little bit. Okay. And Dis, obviously, you pulled out your weapons. What did you say when you pulled out your weapons?
I said, fuck you, motherfucker.
But I don't attack him.
Okay.
I
He
just
kind
say
of
at the ready.
Yeah, he looks up at you kind of through the hat and just goes, Dis, if I have to get up, I'm going to kill all of you.
Oh, God.
Or we could sit down and have a little chat about the job you were sent on, and maybe no one has to die. Doesn't that sound better?
Well, it looks to me like we have 3 here and only 1 of you.
Dis!
Oh, that's true, Dis. And it's a very good point. I'm not entirely sure I could take all 3 of you. But if I die, then they're just going to send the next guy to come look for you.
But that gives us time. So how about we just sit down and have a chat like you mentioned?
You gotta re-threaten so they don't think you're just a pussy.
I loved that. I really did.
Oh, God.
He kind of gives you like a raised eyebrow, but you see a small smile crack his lips. Seems like that's a good idea. He kind of resettles back down onto his butt.
All right, Nim will approach closer at this point. Now that I don't feel like I'm going to get stabbed immediately.
Okay, he sees you coming forward, and he kind of cocks an eye to the side, looking at Kenna. Will the lady be joining us?
How far away am I from them?
I think you said you didn't really move forward. Was that correct?
No, I said move forward.
Okay, how close did you get?
So I was within earshot, like, easily, so I didn't have to, like, strain.
Okay, so you're probably like 15 feet, maybe a little closer.
I step up 5 feet.
Okay. Nim, how close do you get?
I'll get within like normal talking distance.
Okay.
Gotta show him who's boss, right, Dis?
Goddamn right.
He kind of looks side to side.
Be shown as weak.
He looks side to side. All right. Seems like we can have a little discussion. So, how did you find the job?
First of all, the question we have for you is who the hell are you?
Let's call me a liaison to a certain group you asked for membership to.
So this is the skill.
If you prefer that.
Fair.
So, I believe you were sent on a task. A task that, as of about half a day ago, you suddenly abandoned. I'd like to know why.
Someone else fucking stole his shit?
What was that?
I didn't say anything. That was my voice, not Kenna's.
Now, if I remember correctly, the ask from you guys, I look around both ways, was to get something from the pantry.
From behind the flower.
From behind the flower in the pantry.
That's correct.
We may have stumbled into a piece of paper behind some flour in said pantry.
I see. A piece of paper, you say? Is that what you were told to go get?
We weren't told what it was. We were just told to retrieve what was behind the flower.
This is true.
Kenna, dear, if you wouldn't mind, it's information of a rather sensitive nature. I'd prefer you didn't shout it.
I'm not shouting.
From 10 feet away.
I step up another 5 feet. Is this
Now,
better?
yes, that is correct. You weren't told what to look for. You were expected to understand the value of what you found. And then bring it back if you thought it was worth something. That's how thieving usually works, isn't it, Dis?
I can't comment on that.
An obvious shifty-eyed expression. Very well, then. You seem to be under the impression that you found something of worth. So why don't you show it to me?
Do I have the piece of paper? I thought I gave
No,
it back to
Lazarus
Laz.
says we don't have it.
Something of value.
We don't just carry around with us until we're ready to give it to who it needs to be given to.
That seems fair. Certainly can't fault you for that. So why don't you instead then, for the time being, explain to me what you found? I mean, you ended your involvement with Sir Wallace. You must have thought what you had was worthy of ending your engagement.
Well, there was also the fact that I almost died, and he had to take care of me.
There's an attack on the Wallace mansion.
Was there now?
I want to insight that.
Yeah, I also would like
Go
to...
ahead.
I think we all are just like...
Everybody in the pile's just like, whoever thinks they have the best insights.
What's your plus insight?
Insight's wisdom, isn't it?
I would say, unless you can tell me how one of you helps him to insight check it, we'll leave it as a regular
Mine's
roll.
plus 5.
You're also
Okay, so you just...
I believe in you.
Advantage or anything? No, 'cause
You have inspiration.
I do.
What'd you roll?
Maybe.
Average. Right on.
Well, use your freaking inspiration.
That doesn't seem like a good use.
You have
of
50%
inspiration.
chance
That's
of
me
getting
saying
higher.
it.
50% chance of getting high.
I have a 50% chance of going much lower.
No,
Yeah, but
no,
then
it
you
just stays 10.
Okay, well, do we want
That
to
is
know if
an
they were
inspiration.
behind it,
Yes,
or do we want
inspiration's like advantage. You take
It's
the
highest
higher.
of the two rolls.
Yeah.
I always thought it was you tossed away the second.
No, it's the highest of the two.
No, inspiration's just a re-roll, and you take the highest.
But a reroll general. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you take the higher.
Well, for some reason now I am remembering inspiration.
There's a lot of things
Placement.
where if you reroll, you have to take the second roll.
That's quite true.
I think
I don't know if we've been particularly stringent on that so
As
far,
of this
though.
moment, if you reroll, you pick the highest of the two. Go. If that's okay, DM.
It is a good point.
I don't want him to kill
I think
me
it does
later.
have to be a replacement, doesn't it? It's just an extra chance, not a better chance.
That's true. It is just an extra chance. Yeah, so you would have to take the
Because you
roll.
can't use inspiration when you already have advantage.
Yeah, exactly, because that's not what it is.
I'm gonna stay with 10, so 15.
Okay. 15? Alright, so obviously he's a hard man to read, but he doesn't seem surprised that the Wallace mansion was struck. Now, whether that means that was them, or they just were aware of it, or he just expects something like that would happen, you can't say. But he's not shocked.
About that attack, did you order it? Or did somebody within your guild?
You make it sound like everything comes from some sort of central authority. That doesn't seem very wise for a guild of certain types of activity.
I'm just questioning our mission if you guys felt like you could attack at the same time. It's just a matter of covering ourselves.
Your mission was to retrieve something from the pantry and return it to us.
The pantry
What
was-
else happened during that had no bearing on your agreement.
Even
I
if
see
it
no
also
reason
went
to tell
into
you.
the pantry?
Yes, even if they also went into the pantry.
So what I can tell you of what we found was a heavily coded note.
A heavily coded note. And did you decipher such a note?
It was
We've been
coded.
working on it.
No, it was.
It was kind of coded.
It could have been.
Not
We
really.
don't know.
I mean,
Nim seems to believe it was coded, which is more why I didn't ask him to deception roll.
Nim does believe it was coded. He thought there was more to the note than what was
Well,
said.
there has to be. What was said was.
And what sort of note would that be then?
What was it again? It was from the nobles?
Yeah, it was about something was on progress
Progress report.
Or progress
it was
is
going
slow.
slow.
and that they had more rating to just.
I
deal
didn't
with
write it down because we have Lazarus's note.
I didn't write it down because I don't think this would have taken a copy.
The man you're talking to kind of, because you all seem to be kind of trying to remember exactly what it was about. Tell me, did you leave it somewhere where it could be easily accessed? Or perhaps where someone else could relay the information to you? You seem to be having a great deal of trouble remembering what this note that you found important enough to abandon your mission said.
Nim
Is there someone you can ask, perhaps?
to Lazarus. Nim to Lazarus. Come in, Lazarus.
yes, Nim.
I will remind you that he'll be able to hear you.
Yeah, that's fine. So that note we found,
Yes.
do you mind just reading out its contents?
Over the ring.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're asking for a reason.
Yeah, we're just here with, somebody from, yeah,
Can we get
just
your name
somebody.
now?
Yeah, can we get your name now that you know who we are?
I don't see how that's any kind of equivalent trade.
You know our names.
Right. I know your names because I found them out.
How did you figure out this is disguise?
I did say I would tell him that if we remained friends after our discussion. I'm not so sure exactly where I lie on that just yet.
So we're best of friends. Thief to thief.
Now, then, Nim.
Yeah, now would work, Lazarus.
Alright, and then Lazarus, tries to keep it pretty low, but...
Okay.
And then, do you want me to just read it out again, or...?
If
Alright.
that's how you like to do it, yeah.
Attention, all foremen, craftsmen. The current delays to the project are unacceptable. All workers found to be performing at a reduced pace or inattentive to their tasks must be punished quickly and severely. Anyone not carrying out these instructions will be removed from the position and sent to the Queen's Guard for appropriate punishment. Appeals or complaints of extenuating circumstances will not be heard. Your Lord Regent of the Market Realm, no signature.
I see. And tell me, is that handwritten?
It appears to be.
Flowing script, fairly neat, seems like someone well educated.
Basically.
Perhaps written in a rush?
Absolutely.
Also, Russ.
Very well, then. It seems perhaps the information you found might not be so useless after all. Very well, then. I believe that I may be able to, for the time being, close our business if you can give me the copy of that note that you possess.
We'll have to go and retrieve it.
I'd be happy to come with you.
That's okay. We'd prefer to meet you at a designated location.
I'm sure you would, but it was a little hard tracking you down this first time, and
What if
I'd certainly hate to give you the chance to re-hide.
what if one of us stays with you?
Well, we could leave two of us
Yeah,
with you.
two of us with you and one of us goes and gets it for you.
Well, that seems like that would be fine.
I'll go get the note.
I suppose that leaves me with the two boys.
If that's alright, boys.
Yeah, sure.
This Lazarus is still there, gay over the ring.
Very well, then. I'd hate to beat a dead horse, but I'm giving you exactly 2 hours to come back.
How far is our place from the lake?
It's pretty close.
Pretty close to
Okay.
your new location that you had wasn't too bad.
Perfect.
I
Cool.
think,
And so I'll zap away.
Okay. When you go to teleport with the ring, you touch it and nothing happens. You just kind of I suppose it's not immediately close, is it? Very well. And he kind of raises one hand. You should be able to teleport now.
We all.
I mean, you can if you want to.
No, Nim won't.
It'd be funny if we just did it and then came back with the note anyways. We're like, ha, psych.
Say psych right now.
So I teleport back.
Okay.
But I also know that there's people watching.
Seems like.
At the farming run. So, as soon as I get back, I look around and see if I can notice these people.
Do a perception check.
There's like one right there.
He's just standing there like, hey.
Hey, I'm talking to you.
That's a 6, 18? 18.
18? Okay.
Yeah.
You take a look around, and sure enough, kind of tucked to the side of a couple of the buildings that can see where everybody teleports in for the farming run, there are a couple of people just sort of casually standing there and don't really seem to be looking at anything in particular, but are very much just waiting around.
Okay. And they're all, like, in the same spot?
No, they're kind of strewn about so they can see it from all angles.
Okay.
Definitely not suffering from a lack of manpower.
Fucking Mary keeps getting in my way. I'm thinking of a plan and she's screwing it up.
God damn it,
It's rather mean. Isn't it just the worst when you have to babysit an NPC? You guys never did get to the escort quest. That was going to be fun.
Isn't this kind of an escort quest?
Yeah, this wasn't the escort quest I had in mind.
Oh,
She was gonna walk so slow.
So I want to very, like, sneakily, knowing that there's all these people around watching, call Lazarus at the ring.
Okay.
Okay. And then just, like, tell him sneakily to hand off the letter to Lil. And that I will meet her upstairs in the hotel.
Okay, so you tell Lil the plan.
I tell Lazarus and tell him to tell Lil.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay. Just try to do that as sneakily as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. While you're trying to...
Super sneaky. I've passed the trace on still.
While you're trying to negotiate that handoff, the two of you are still sitting with this individual in the alleyway. Anything you're trying to do with him while Kenna's trying to get the smooth handoff through Lazarus Lil to her?
Small talk.
What kind of small talk?
So I noticed some markings on the walls. Was that your work?
He kind of looks over.
Let's look at any of the thieves' cants on the walls. They're saying, like, just turn yourselves in.
Not my handwork.
I expected as much. So, what's the interest with Wallace?
Did you not find Wallace an interesting individual? You were in his care for several weeks. You must have seen something that made you think people would be interested in him.
Well, yes, but the Thieves Guild in particular. I mean, I'm sure there's other places that have some valuable things in them. Why
Oh.
Wallace in particular?
Valuable things are everywhere.
Exactly.
Rich people do tend to have more of them, though.
There's many-
Especially corrupt rich people.
But I'm guessing there's probably more than just Wallace being a corrupt nobleman in these areas.
Oh, of course. But we have other groups to look at other people. We thought Wallace would be a good introduction for you. He's not very bright.
That is true. So this is more of a test than any sort of need for real information?
That is what you wanted, wasn't it?
It
A
was.
test to prove you could join the Thieves Guild?
It was, if I remember correctly.
I see. And you'd still like to join, would you, Dis?
Of course.
And of course, if we were going to be guildmates, there would be no reason to keep secrets from one another, would there?
Exactly.
So why don't you tell me about the warehouse Wallace sent you to?
The warehouse.
I want to insight that.
Go ahead.
I just want to... He seems to have a lot of information
About us.
about us and Wallace, and I just want to make sure that he's like... That he's coming at this from like a Thieves Guild perspective and not necessarily like
Wallace.
pretending to be Thieves Guild and he's actually working for Wallace.
That's a good thing to check.
That's alright. What's my insight again? I think I have +5. I do. That's 21.
So let me ask you, what would you be looking for to differentiate somebody who was actually a Thieves Guild person from somebody pretending to be a Thieves Guild person?
Oh, jeez. Just like his mannerisms, I guess, and like the way, like in his verbiage that he used to ask the question, like if he's seeming like he knows a lot, it's like, I don't know. Is he angry about it, or is he sort of like just questioning about it?
That I can certainly ask you. He has an almost complete level of disinterest in the emotional sense. Nothing he said so far has a positive or negative connotation to it. It's all just, why don't you tell me about what that was like? Or what do you think you found? It's all very matter of fact, just pulling data.
Guess I'll, just to like confirm this, I'll be like, well, what have you heard of the warehouse so far?
All right. I suppose I can't very well ask for information and give you none in return. That wouldn't be very guildmate of me, would it, Dis?
No, not at all.
Very well, then. I'm sure it comes as no surprise to you that a thieves' guild is only as good as the information it can gather. And the more of us there are, the more information we can gather. So I suppose it also shouldn't surprise you that you've been watched for some time. So, obviously I know you went to a certain warehouse in the market rung. I know you went inside with Nim here. I know that several moments you came out later with a different drow elf, who you then proceeded to beat to death, while claiming you were under attack, and then you took him back inside. And several moments after that, the entire building erupted in a rather bright explosion that didn't do any damage to any of the surrounding buildings, but nevertheless seemed to have exhausted a great deal of magic potential. That's about it, really. So why don't you tell me what you found in that warehouse?
So,
So where do we begin? I mean, you covered a good deal of it with your story. So inside the warehouse, it's kind of like a torture chamber.
Yep.
For like virgin girls,
All right.
and it seemed like they were harvesting their blood for some kind of red chalky substance.
some sort of powder.
A red chalky powder.
Actually,
Something that looks a little bit like this.
He kind of takes a look at it for a moment. Any idea what this powder is supposed to do?
What have we figured out so far?
So,
Figured out a lot from Mary.
Yeah.
it seems to... Well, one thing we saw is that it does react violently to other magic around it. I believe that's what was part of the cause of the explosion you saw.
I see. I suppose that would make sense. You said this was being used as some sort of torture area
That's right.
for virgin girls.
Correct.
Were they killed in the explosion?
well, exposure to the powder over time caused them to become like zombie-like shells. They tried to attack us.
I
I
think
see.
some of them were absorbing magic. Some of their arms got larger.
Really?
Hmm.
I see. Well, Dissenim, I must say I have to admit I'm slightly disappointed in you. a thief is only as good as the information or items he steals, and knowing when and where to tell people about them and make money. And yet here I am, sitting here demanding you tell me what you found in Wallace's mansion, and instead of leading with mysterious death magic powder made from the blood of virgin girls, you led with, we have some sort of bureaucratic note.
Of course, part of being a thief as well is knowing the audience you're talking to. And we had to get a good gauge on you.
I see. Well, I suppose regardless, I ended up with information on both stories, so no great loss. What exactly did you plan on doing with the powder?
Continuing to find out more about it, try to determine its exact usage.
I see. And if I was to tell you that I could find you someone who could tell you what the powder was, but they may ask to keep it in return, what would you say to that?
We'd have to meet them first, determine their trustworthiness with the powder.
It
But
is
if that
kind of
checks out.
volatile stuff.
I see. Very well. A tit for tat then, shall we? I think at this point I can safely say that my recommendation would be I see no reason that Dis can't join the Thieves Guild, as long as he continues to perform as he has so far. But I can't very well take you to a contact of mine to gauge your trust of him without knowing how to tell him to trust you as well. So, you're already planning on giving me the note, that much seems clear. I believe I might need one more thing from you then. Just to make sure we're on as even a keel as possible.
I'm hoping for some sort of energetic dance
I'm afraid not.
one day.
So then, for the time being, Nim, am I to understand that Nim and Kenna's Cleaners is run under your personal attention?
More or less.
I see. And you find yourself moving a fair amount of material and money these days, I would imagine.
Oh, you want me to launder money for you?
Yeah.
I was going to put it a bit more tactfully, but yes, that is the gist of my request.
Oh, dry cleaners are great for that. I could just fudge the numbers in the book easily.
That was my impression as well.
I love them.
I see. Well, it would appear then that Nim should be perfectly capable of joining the Thieves Guild as well, provided he's willing to allow certain elements of coin to travel through his business. We'd be happy to give you a cut.
Oh, I mean, there's a certain percentage. That was my next question. What's the offer of...
Well, we have a mind to move a fair amount of material and coin through your little operation, especially as it's become fairly popular with some of the nobles and a fair member of the guard. So, why don't we start with about 3%?
Can we say 5?
We could say 5, but that wouldn't very well balance out the 3% you're already giving to our foreman.
Wait a second.
Alex.
Lol. You got Thieves Guild.
It's probably
God damn it, Alex.
already.
But he was like a religious kid from the farming run.
That he was.
That's why I was imitating him.
But he's also very good at numbers.
Yep.
Really he is.
Fucking Kenna.
All right, well... I mean, we could bump up his share to 5%, but then I get 5% of what you're laundering.
I see. A raise for him and a raise for you.
Yep. And obviously he's getting his share from you guys, so he doesn't get any cut of the laundering money.
No, of course not.
So
Very well. 5 and 5 it is.
I had a question as well. When I originally contacted your organization, it was with the help of Kenna, who you saw moments ago.
I did.
What about her joining the Thieves Guild? She was the first one into the pantry, I believe. Maybe not the one who found the note, but...
I see. And the two of you who now find yourselves as members of our little club, do you believe she is unscrupulous enough to join the Thieves Guild? I'm afraid your long delay answers my question for me, Dis.
Could it be on the table in the future if we, Nim and I, determine she is unscrupulous enough to join the Thieves Guild?
Well, we are always looking for pretty young ladies to help distract or maybe pickpocket. Do you believe she'd be good at either of these activities?
I believe she would be.
Distracting? You're perfect at distracting people. We've already pulled that con.
We pulled that con like 1,000 times already.
Very well, I will consider it. For the time being. In the meantime, it seems to me we've set up a rather amendable contract, so I suppose we'll just wait for a letter to be delivered and we can all be on our way. I trust if you have any questions about the specifics of the laundering that's going on, you'll have the good sense not to ask.
Of course not.
Ask about what?
Exactly. All right, well, while these deals have been shook down, Lazarus has heard from Kenna that she needs the note.
I have.
So, exactly how paranoid are you about passing her this note?
Well, it's the whole thing. It's got like the whole noble implications of stuff, and we don't know who we're giving it to. But Lazarus has already just had to read it off and trust them because he's not there.
Yep.
So Lazarus had no choice but to just trust and read it off. So at that point, like, I mean, he feels like the note could have like some pretty far-reaching impact, but he's already given up the ghost and is probably fine to hand it over to Lil.
Okay.
Or, well, would I want to hand it over to Lil, or would I want to hand it to Kenna? No, Lazarus is going to come up instead and be in the back room.
Okay. As soon as you're on your way up, Mary is very much kind of right there and just kind of, are you going outside now?
For literally 10 seconds.
But you're so much bigger than me. Why don't I go outside?
Mary, we've been over this.
Right, we've been over this. I'm half your size and I can hide in a cloak.
Lazarus is wearing a cloak and Lazarus is going into a back room.
Fine.
Lazarus will make up to you.
Okay. Lazarus
So when
proceeds up the stairs.
I'm up like underneath the trapdoor now. Past the, I guess. Yeah, I'll tell Lil that I'm popping up into the back room.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. So you pop up into the back room.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look around. Nobody's there yet. A few moments later, Lil kind of cracks the door and like takes a look inside really quick, and then kind of slips in and closes the door behind her.
Mm-hmm.
What's all this about?
Lazarus simply needs to hand something off to Kenna.
Oh, and you can't be seen. All right, I can take it to her if you like.
Just let her know that Lazarus is here.
Okay. She kind of takes the note from you and.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were giving it to her.
No. Tell Kenna to come into the back room.
Oh.
I'm not letting Lil have the note.
Okay. She nods. All right, I'll go get her. She, leaves for a few moments and a couple of seconds later comes back with Kenna. I mean, it's not very far to go out in front of her bar.
Can I have the note, please? How much time has passed?
Maybe 20 minutes.
20 minutes? Fuck. Okay, so I take the note and I ask Lil for a room. Well, we still have rooms here upstairs, I assume. So I go up to my room upstairs with my scroll case and I'm going to copy this letter down as closely, word for word as I can, and I'm going to do a thorough inspection of it in as much time as I can, leaving myself enough time to get back.
Okay, you'll need at least a half an hour to get back. That leaves you just over an hour.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing.
Then we will have, let's see. So you have your scroll case. How proficient are you with it? Or does it even say?
I'm a sage, my background.
There is forgery kits.
Yeah, there is a forgery kit.
I'm not a forger.
Okay.
She doesn't.
I just have a scroll case.
Okay, so you'll have to do as best you can
Yeah.
with the ink and pen you have
Yes.
available, which may or may not perfectly match the ink and pen of the original. Okay, so what I'll have you do then is roll sleight of hand for how precisely you can move your hand to copy it.
I'm gonna use my inspiration.
Okay. Kenna sets down to her work and immediately fucks up her first copy and decides to try again.
Ooh.
21.
Okay.
Inspiration was worth it.
You take as much time as you feel you have, and you try to make as perfect a copy of it as you can. Which one are you taking with you?
I'm taking the real copy.
Okay, you're taking the original. What are you doing with the one you just copied?
Leaving it here. Well, putting it in my bag.
Okay.
Putting it in my bag. Yep, putting it in my bag.
Okay. All right. At that point, are you just teleporting back and heading back that way?
No, I'm gonna leave my bag here.
Okay.
In my drawer.
Okay.
But take, like, all of my usual things that I have, just, like, my bat and stuff. My club. And then I will head back, yes.
Okay. Did you fill Lazarus in on
No.
anything? Okay. So, Lazarus, you've gone back to the basement.
It's still babysitting.
Yeah, with a very, now maybe agitated Mary, who was very sad she couldn't leave. And in the meantime, so Kenna, by the time you get back to the boys, they've had plenty of time to have the discussion that they've had, and you come around the corner kind of, maybe in a bit of a rush, because you've probably only got about 5 minutes left. Like, you did try to make as good a copy as you can, and as you come around the corner, they're just laughing about some random thing. like they've long since stopped talking about serious stuff, and they're just shooting the shit waiting for you.
Well, I'm glad you guys are having fucking fun.
And you hand over the original copy?
You only have it on
Yep.
you. Yeah.
Okay. So he looks up and he kind of takes the copy from you, unscrolls it for a moment, and gives it a quick read himself. All right. Seems like you may have come back with some good information after all, between the note and the red powder that you've told me about while Kenna was gone. It's, welcome to the Thieves Guild. Should you need more direct contact, we really do rather prefer people just don't go wandering around random pubs. It's a little obvious. So I would recommend instead, if you need to talk to someone, take a bit of red cloth and drape it over your left shoulder. Walk around with it for as long as you need to until somebody comes to ask you what you need.
Right, that sounds good. Keep that in
And
mind.
should I find the individual I had talked about that may be able to look at the dust that you had found, I will let you know in a similar fashion. I'm sure I can just have Alex tell you.
Of course. Thank you.
Oh no. Thank you. This has turned out to be a much more fruitful afternoon than I thought it would be.
It's what a guildmate would do for another.
Indeed it is. Welcome to the Guild, boys. See that you don't disappoint us. We have a rather unhealthy checkout policy.
That sounds fine. Let's go.
That doesn't sound suspicious at all.
And at that point, he simply saunters away.
Can't help noticing that he only welcomed you two to the Thieves Guild.
Yeah, they're pretty sexist.
Insight.
Roll deception.
That finally happened.
You believe him.
20.
Yeah, I believe it.
Okay, yeah, it turns out the Thieves Guild might be a little sexist.
Well, then I'm never doing anything for them ever again.
I mean, they said you would have your uses, they're just not.
I have my uses.
That's how they.
I like him.
That's how they determine if your guildmate is the usage you can give them. They don't really look at other people as people, just kind of tools. And we were like, well, Kenna can distract people, and they're like,
I'm shit at distracting people.
no, remember you distracted
No one. Ever.
successfully, maybe, but you're learning. But this is part of it, can't you see? We said that, and they're like, ooh, we don't know yet. So it's a matter of practice.
Whatever. I
We'll
just
steal
like
you
go
a
back
lower
to the
cut shirt
market.
from
I go
the-
back to the farm rung. I just like leave them.
While
It's a
the-
compliment.
While the three of you are finishing up this argument, from around the corner of the alleyway, you hear a rather brisk, "I hope I'm not interrupting anything."
Jesus Christ.
We'll take a break there.
God, now another group. What was this?
Wow, what a cliffhanger! I wonder what's going to happen next time. Seriously, guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening in. If you liked what you heard, share us with your friends. If you hated what you heard, share us with your enemies. Seriously, though, like, comment, subscribe. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll find out what happens to Double Doubles and Dragons next time.